All right, what's up, guys? Coach Andrew Simmons here for Jog Your Mind, segment number 5. And I'm actually sitting down to re-record this because I had some time to think about this after going to this last weekend's meet. This is all about journaling. This is the skill that I think can transform more of your performance than any speed work or mileage or any sort of supplement or anything that you do, because journaling encapsulates everything. It's about investigation and exploration. I think the big thing I want to get across to you guys is understanding that journaling may be something that you have started. It may be something that you've tried in the past and given up on because you didn't really understand how to do the investigation. And I want to talk to you guys about an idea that we call the edge. The edge is really about choosing where do you want to be uncomfortable, right? We can really get into motivation and desire and all of those things. But when it comes to the edge, you have a choice that you can sit down, and these are my journals. This has an Ironman, multiple marathons. This has years and years of training inside here. And to me, the idea of the edge is a choice. Where do you want to be uncomfortable? Do you want to be uncomfortable in something that lives inside your notebook or your backpack? And do you want to be uncomfortable here? Or do you want to be uncomfortable on race day? And when I talk about journaling and I talk about investigation and exploration, what I'm really talking about is the idea of exploring your thoughts and your feelings and your emotions. And I realize that sounds a bit woo-woo, maybe even a little bit weird. But the reality is that most athletes aren't held back because they lack fitness or they lack the ability to push themselves too hard. We're often up against two things, and these are two fears that exist as athletes and as people: the fear of judgment and the fear of failure. And these two things are things that you will battle your whole life, whether that's the fear of getting in front of a camera or getting out and sharing your thoughts and ideas, getting up on stage, or maybe it's living in your head, that fear of failure, that fear of judgment. And that's why I believe that journaling is the most important thing that you can do as an athlete and the best skill that you can gain, because you're not going to be great at it at first. It's just like running. It's just like a new sport. It's flexing a new muscle. It's about trying to find and really live the idea that success or failure leaves clues, but you have to go looking for them. If you're not at a place yet to be able to understand what you did right and what you did wrong, that's okay. But understand that when you complete a race or a workout and it didn't go the way you wanted, don't get stuck on where you didn't perform to your standard, to someone else's standard, or even your expectations or the expectations of others. The reality is that you're an athlete. You're growing, you're changing. And I'm speaking especially to my high school athletes, but even my adult athletes that may be newer in the sport, or even some of my athletes that have been in the sport 10 plus years. You are still growing and you are still changing. And if you take the time to sit down and investigate those thoughts, feelings, and emotions that you have around the sport, you're going to be able to better understand what you need to do. So let's actually talk about what are we looking for. On a daily basis, sitting down to actually talk about where did you actually go for a run? How far? How long? And this is the key piece. How did it feel, right? If we're trying to investigate and understand why I have a stomach issue, or man, I keep getting headaches after I run, writing down what you ate before, how much you hydrated, all of those other things are what exist in a journal. It can be many things. It doesn't just have to be a black and white picture of how far, how long, and where. It can also be an investigation into, man, I've been really struggling with getting, to the last rep feeling strong, or getting to a place where I feel like I pushed myself really hard. Ask yourself why. That is what exists in almost every single one of my journals, is an exploration into why couldn't I, whether that was execute in the final 10K of a marathon, why, couldn't I get past 135-pound hang clean for forever? And you have to realize that you're an experiment, and that you're an experiment of one, and that you are going to learn things at a different rate than someone else. And the journal is really where you can separate yourself from this place of comparison, this deadly place that often people just get stuck. They get stuck because they're not good enough, or they're not where they want to be yet. But the tough work, the edge, the place that's uncomfortable, you can solve that problem in a journal. You can look deep, and no one has to know. You can have a very deep self-reflection, and no one has to know, but that's where the growth is really, really going to happen. So daily journaling is a place to outwardly express frustration, as well as find clues towards bigger successes, right? We talked about that whole nutrition piece. Have you guys actually gone through the fact of trying to write down what you had for lunch before, or directly leading into the race, that if you continue to have stomach problems, are those two places that you're looking? If you can't document, or you don't document, you can't expect to find answers quickly. So I'm going to give you guys a math equation. I'm going to put it up here. And this came from a recent book I was reading. And it's pretty simple. It's E plus R equals O. Events and response equal outcomes. When we think about the events, this could be a race, this could be a workout, this could be anything. Your response is, how do you deal with that, right? We often talk about the anxieties leading into a race, something that can, choke, right? Lead us to a place where we might not be able to perform, right? We're like, man, today's the day, PR's on deck, perfect race, perfect place. That's exactly what I want out of today. There's no reason. My training says I'm right where I need to be. And then we get to that start line, and something happens, something clicks. You start to hear again those claps on the legs, and all of a sudden it starts to bubble up. What's your response, right? It needs to be automatic. How do you respond to that flow of anxiety? How do you keep yourself calm at the start line? What are the things that you're talking through? Because the events that happen, your response, and the outcome that happens there, it's a factor of those two things. I want you guys to realize that great athletes do not fear challenges. They've trained themselves how to respond better. And the only way that you understand how to respond better is if you're actually taking a look at, how did you respond? What was the event? What was the response? What is the outcome? That's what a journal is. So when we talk about racing, at what point did it shift? When did your mental game shift from a positive place of great, beautiful self-belief to negative? And were you able to get yourself out of it? That's why you have to explore. So what I have for you guys this week in terms of a download is I have our journaling prompts. This is what I ask my athletes, whether they're youth or they're adults. These are the things that I ask them to document. And then I ask them to take a deeper look. And sometimes athletes want to send me these things. So if you're someone that's out there, what I will do is I will open my inbox to questions. Andrew@lifelongendurance.com. It will be in the description. It will be in everything. If you guys have questions, if you guys feel like you're getting stuck, send me an email. Send me an email, and I'll be happy to help you figure out how to get past something that you are stuck on. But what I'm going to ask is that you have taken a week to journal about it, think about it. And if you're still stuck, shoot me an email. But that's my challenge for you guys, is to look and actually explore where you might be getting stuck and try to document what's going on. Because I can promise you that when an athlete comes to me and says, man, I've got everything else dialed in, but my training seems to be a little bit off, or what should I do? And they come to me and I ask them, so how many miles a week have you been running? What kind of workouts? And they go, let me check my Strava. It just leads to a place where I have to now do all of the investigation, and I have to piece it all together. What I can promise you is that if you're listening to this or viewing this, and you want to go to the next level, you want to run in college, or maybe even you have dreams beyond that, you're going to be asked to keep a training log and a training journal. And it's going to only propel you more now in high school or wherever you are to take a chance and look inside what you're doing. If you document it now, you're going to be further ahead than everybody else that isn't doing it right now. Because this is the trick. This is the skill that's going to propel you. I'm going to leave you guys with 4 questions. These are 4 questions that I think are worth journaling on if you're stuck. If you're not someone that likes to write things down, I'm going to ask you guys some questions. And if any of these kind of hit you and you go, I need to think about that a little bit more, or I don't have a great answer to that right now, it's worth journaling on, and it's worth digging a little bit deeper, because I believe journaling can help answer these 4 questions. And to me, this is what a champion can, I guess, extrapolate, or that's not the word I'm looking for. A champion should be able to be given these questions and then be able to talk about them and be able to share them outwards. So here's my 4 questions for you guys. Am I secure with who I am as an athlete? Do I trust myself? Can I take tough feedback? Do I know my strengths? And I think that last one is most important. And I'll close you guys out with this. You guys will see probably on my Instagram a photo that I'm going to post in the next couple days here. Half of it is black and white. The other half of it is color. And what I want you guys to realize is that by majority, 90+% of athletes exist in the left half of the photo, in the black and white. They can only see good and bad. And they're almost always, like our brains, looking for the bad. And it's not their fault, because we're wired to look for problems. We're wired to try and see, where did we mess up? And when we can shift into the right side of the photo, a very colorful one, something that's bright and beautiful, it's when we can recognize our success. But often our success is also in our strengths. So when you know your strengths, and you can also understand your success and why you achieved it and what you did well, even if it was not the outcome that you wanted. Did you respond well and you just didn't get the outcome you wanted today? All of that goes back to being able to understand what you want, when do you want it, and do you know if it's coming? So with that, we're going to close out segment 5. I kept it pretty short today, guys. I hope this was a good one. I hope this one kind of made you think a little bit. But more than anything, I hope it helps you guys pick up something cheap. $1, 25 cents. Maybe in this inflated world, $5 and $1. For $6, there is nothing that you can do more on a daily basis than journal that's going to help you. So that's what I've got for you guys. Segment 5, jog your mind. The number 1 skill that you guys need to be building is understanding journaling. With that, I'll see you guys next week.